I came with this court case because that is absolute nonsense. The response was that because the funding for this center came from the one big beautiful bill, not a congressional appropriations bill, that they were denying our access. This document, this court case, refutes that.
When we entered the detention center, we were able to observe about 20 people that were being detained there briefly. We also were told that there were showers we weren't able to see. We asked if there were hygiene products provided. They told us people are not held long enough to need those, which is insane because we've heard from people who have been detained here before. And so I will let my colleagues also share their observation, but I will end with this. What happened today is a blatant attempt, along with Angie Craig, the congresswoman for Minnesota's 2nd District, and Kelly Morrison, the congresswoman for Minnesota's 3rd District, made an attempt to enter Whibley Center here in Minneapolis. We were initially invited in to do our congressional oversight and to exercise our Article 1 duties. When we made it in, it was with the authorization of someone who's been here for a really long time, who understood that we had a congressional duty to enter the building and to see the facility. Shortly after we were let in, 2 officials came in and said that they received a message that we were no longer allowed to be in the building and that they were rescinding our invitation to come in and declining any further access to the building. When we initially entered, I'll briefly describe what we saw. We were taken in to the monitoring center. We were able to see where people were brought in. We were informed that there are 2 planes that are taking off today, taking detainees out of this center into other detention centers outside, within the United States. We did ask if those were deportation flights. We were told no. When we entered the detention center, we were able to observe about 20 people that were being detained there briefly. We also were told that there were showers we weren't able to see. We asked if there were hygiene products provided. They told us people are not held long enough to need those, which is insane because we've heard from people who have been detained here before. And so I will let my colleagues also share their observation, but I will end with this. What happened today is a blatant attempt to obstruct members of Congress from doing their oversight duties. When we appropriate funds as members of Congress, we are expected by the public to do oversight because the public requires their money be used with transparency and accountability. And what happened today is ICE agents deciding that we were no longer allowed to fulfill our constitutional duties. I will turn it over to Congresswoman Angie Craig of Minnesota's 2nd Congressional District.
We were allowed to briefly enter the control room of the detention facility, but were not allowed many more steps thereafter. There was an abrupt decision that we should return to a waiting area and await leadership to come and tell us what was going on. When they arrived, they told us that we are not allowed in the building, that they were rejecting our appeal as duly elected members of Congress from the state of Minnesota from observing the detention center. I came with this court case because that is absolute nonsense. The response was that because the funding for this center came from the one big beautiful bill, not a congressional appropriations bill, that they were denying our access. This document, this court case, refutes that. They would not have a conversation, leadership in the facility, and answer any questions at that point. Look, we're here because we're members of Congress. We have every right and responsibility, if we're doing our jobs, to be here today to see what the conditions are in that detention center. We are going to continue to show up. We're going to continue to do our job. We let ICE know, Department of Homeland Security know, that they were violating federal law. They do not care that they are violating federal law. Kelly?
Yes, Congresswoman Kelly Morrison, Minnesota's 3rd District. I just want to step back and let's talk about our humanity. I agree with my colleagues. Everything that they said is accurate. As a physician myself, I was very interested to see what the conditions inside were. We were very briefly allowed to go in, but we saw no beds. We saw a lot of young men sitting with their heads in their hands. We were not allowed to speak to any of them. I have privacy forms that I was ready to hand out to constituents. We are better than this. This is not what our great American project should be about.
We'll take one or two
Can you
questions.
give me a sense of who decided to let you in the first place, and then who decided to tell you to leave? Like, can you detail that at all?
It was our understanding that we were let in by the former acting director that allowed us in. He was in that position up until 2 days ago. And we did make a phone call before we came here to give him a heads up that we were coming. Did facilitate our entry into the building, and then 10 minutes or so later, as we were making our way into the actual detention center where people were being detained, we were told that we had to come back out because his higher ups had made a phone call to him saying that we are no longer allowed to be in the building, and that an explanation would be provided to us once we got upstairs. And when we got upstairs, the explanation that we got was, yes, the law is on your side, but we don't care, and we are not going to allow you to fulfill your oversight duties.
Yeah, their explanation was that the reason that we could not provide oversight today is because the funding came from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which makes no sense. And per Congresswoman Craig's point, with the recent reaffirmation with the court case in December, they're breaking the law.
Given the context of why you're here today, what should people at home who are horrified by what they saw this week take away from your visit, take away from what you just saw inside there, about how ICE is operating?
Well, this is just one more example of this administration and Kristi Noem violating the law. This is an out-of-control Trump's ICE. And what people at home should take is that they should call their Republican members of Congress. We need Minnesota Republicans, we need Republicans across this country to stand up to their own party. This is beyond the pale. This administration continues to use Minnesota as a political stunt. And earlier this week, it got a woman killed as they are detaining individuals across Minnesota and across this country. It is our job as members of Congress to make sure that those folks detained are treated with humanity, because we are the damn United States of America, and we don't treat people the way that this administration is treating people in our country. We are better than this. This is not a partisan statement. We are better than this, America.
Congresswoman
And
Omar.
I think the other thing that people should know is that this is a blatant disregard of the law. We are seeing ICE pick up people, not allowing them to have access to their attorneys, to their family members, not allowing access to information that their family members could provide. We've also seen them being denied the ability to contact their members of Congress so that we can liaison and get the proper information that is needed and give comfort to their families of their whereabouts. This hasn't happened before.